All right, so this is our college algebra, our final test that we're going to have here. It's a final test. This is your review. So I'm going to start out here. If we're solving non-linear equations, that means one or more of the variables has something squared. When you have two equations that both say y equals, you can just set them equal to each other, guys. You can say x squared minus 5x minus 7 equals negative 5x plus 9. Right? This is a quadratic, so we want everything on one side. So I'm going to add the 5x, and I'm going to subtract 9 here. I'm going to add 5x and subtract 9. So all of this over here cancels out. We're left with x squared. This cancels out. Minus 16 equals 0. You guys with me? Mm-hmm. Move 16 to the other side, so x squared equals 16. So what do? Take the square root. I get x equals plus or minus 4. So I'm going to have two x values that I'm going to plug into an equation. I have x equals 4 and x equals negative 4. So I'm just going to go over here and say, let's evaluate when x equals 4, and let's evaluate when x equals negative 4. I'm going to use the bottom equation to plug back in because that's a simpler equation. So we have negative 5 times 4 plus 9. That equals y. So negative 20 plus 9, y equals what? Negative 11. Mm-hmm. So my ordered pair would be when I plug in 4, I get out negative 11. Same thing over here. I'm going to use the same equation. Y equals negative 5 times negative 4 plus 9. Negative 5 times negative 4 is 20, and 20 plus 9 is 29. So my ordered pair is negative 4, comma 29. Now, how can I make sure that I'm right? Plug it back in. If tomorrow on your test, you just go through and plug answer choices in and get the right answer, but don't submit any work for it, then you're not going to get credit for that question. So make sure you're not just trying to work backwards or just guess. You need to work the problems out like you were if this was going to be a test that you turned in where I graded all of your work. All right, let's move along. Number 2. Which equation looks easier to take one and plug into the other? The bottom, right? Good. Let's make this say y equals. So I'm going to move negative 4x over here. What is that going to become? Y equals what? 4x plus 2, right? So I'm going to take this value and plug it in right there. So I have negative 2x squared minus 3x. Instead of y, I'm going to put plus 4x plus 2 equals negative 4. So now let's combine like terms. Negative 2x squared is just going to stay right there. I have a negative 3 and a positive 4. That gives me plus x. I'm going to add this 4 to both sides. So I have plus 6 equals 0. Now before I try to factor this, what's the problem with this? There's a negative in front. Let's divide everything by negative 1. Excuse me. So this becomes 2x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. So now if we go to factor, 2a times c. So 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. What are the factors of negative 12 that multiply to give me a negative 12, but add to give me a negative 1? Yep. X minus 4, x plus 3. That gives me a negative 12 when I multiply, but a negative 1 when I add. Since my a term is not 1, I have to divide both factors by 2. When I do, 4 divided by 2 works out nice and pretty, so I have x minus 2. 3 divided by 2 does not work out pretty, so I have 2x plus 3, and both of those set equal to 0. So now if I solve it, I get an x value of x equals 2. And then over here, I get an x value, if I move the 3 over, it becomes negative 3 divided by 2. You guys with me? Mm-hmm. Now I take those two x values and I do what? Plug it in, find out what y is. Now I have a negative 3 over 2. Some of us don't like to work with fractions, and that's fine. What can I change negative 3 over 2 to?
1.5.
Yep, I could do negative 1.5. That's fine. As long as it's a terminating decimal, guys, no worries. But I'm going to use that bottom equation. Y minus 4x equals 2. No, sorry. Yeah, y minus 4x, this should be a minus. So I say y minus 4 times 2 equals 2. Y minus 8 equals 2. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So y equals what? 10. So my ordered pair is 2 comma 10. Over here, I'm going to say y minus negative 3 over 2, the 4 out in front, equals 2, right? First of all, what's a negative times a negative? A positive. And this 4 will cancel out here. This is going to become a positive 2, right? So I have y, 2 times negative 3 is minus 6 equals 2. Or is it positive? Yes, and this is positive, yeah. So now what do we do to both sides? Subtract the 6, and you get y equals negative 4. So what's my ordered pair? Negative 3 over 2, comma, negative 4. And what can I do to make sure that I'm right? Plug it back in. Good. Questions so far? We're okay? All right, again, go ahead, I'm sorry. All right, what about this one? Where should we go with this? First of all, which equation looks easier, simpler? The bottom one. So what do you think would be the best thing to isolate, to get by itself so you can plug in for? The y, good. Move this x over, it becomes positive, so you have y equals x minus 4. So in that top equation, everywhere I see a y, I'm going to put in an x minus 4. So you have x squared minus 7x plus 11 equals, instead of y, I'm going to put x minus 4, and then I have minus 1. Everybody agree? Okay. So let's just combine like terms, do what we need to do. Is there anything on the left-hand side that I can combine or the right-hand side? All right, I could say x squared minus 7x plus 11 equals x minus 5, correct? Since it's a quadratic, we want everything on one side. So I'm going to subtract x and add 5 here. I'm going to subtract x and add 5 here. So this becomes x squared minus what? 8x plus what? Equals 0. What are the factors of positive 16 that multiply to give me 16 but add to give me a negative 8? 4 and 4? Good. X minus 4, x minus 4. So I get x equals 4. How many times do I get x equals 4? 2 times. Is x equals 4 the same point as x equals 4? Yeah. So we only have one solution here. So I'm going to plug in x equals 4. Which equation do you want to plug it into? The bottom one, negative x plus y. Negative x plus y equals negative 4. Okay, so I have negative 4 plus y equals negative 4. Add 4 to both sides. Y equals 0. So your point here is 4 comma 0. There's only one solution point there. When you graph these two lines or whatever, graph these two equations, they only cross at one point. Questions? All right, we get into something like this, and this one gets a little hairy. You'll probably see something like this, so watch what I do. Which equation, guys, top or bottom, looks simpler? The bottom one, okay? Now, it doesn't matter which one you solve for. I'm going to solve for y just because there's not a coefficient in front of y. So if I solve for y, I'm going to divide both sides by x. So that means where I see a y, I'm going to plug in 4 divided by x. You guys with me? So watch. We have 2x squared plus, instead of y, I have 4 over x squared equals 18. We have to do a little bit of math here before we can just say, okay, all this is going to cancel out. We can move from here to there. This 2 goes to the numerator and the denominator. So I have 2x squared plus, what's 4 squared? 16 over, what's x to the second power? X squared equals 18. Guys, this is a fraction. If I had a 3 underneath that 16, you guys would tell me to multiply the entire equation by 3, right? And get it to cancel out? So what can I multiply this entire equation by to get the x squared in the denominator to cancel out? X squared, good. So when I distribute here, x squared and x squared gives me x to the fourth. My x squared here cancels out with this one. And then x squared times 18, 18x squared, good. What do I do now with that 18? Move it over, good. So I have 2x to the fourth minus 18x squared plus 16 equals 0. This is a tough problem, I know that. Okay, we got to factor this. What's the first thing you look for when you're factoring? What's the first thing I should take out? A 2. Take out that GCF. Make your problem a little easier. So I'm left with x to the fourth minus 9x squared plus 8. So let's think of this just like we would a normal factoring problem. I have my 2 out in front. Guys, what times what gives me x to the fourth? X squared, good. Now, what are the factors of positive 8 that could multiply to give me a positive 8, but add to give me a negative 9? 1 and 8. Negative 1, negative 8. Good. So now we set each piece equal to 0. So I have 2 equals 0, x squared minus 1 equals 0, and x squared minus 8 equals 0. Is this first statement true? Will 2 ever be 0? Okay, cross it out. If I go to solve this, would you guys agree I'm going to add 1 to both sides? I get x squared equals 1. Take the square root, so what does x equal? Plus or minus 1. Good. Same thing here. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. I get x squared equals what? Okay, well, it equals 8, right? Then I have to take the square root, so I get x equals plus or minus the square root of 8. Can I leave it as the square root of 8? No. No, I cannot. I have to break that down. 8 is 4 and 2, right? So 2 comes on the outside. The other 2 stays on the inside. So I have 2 values here. It's x equals plus or minus 2 root 2. How many x values am I going to plug in to find y values? 4. Good. Good, guys. So I have, it's a long problem, I know. I have x equals 1. I have x equals negative 1. X equals 2 root 2. And x equals negative 2 root 2. Now, looking back at our original equations, the original, way up here at the top, what's the easier equation to substitute in? The bottom one, xy equals 4, right? So I'm going to use xy equals 4. Xy equals 4. Xy equals 4. And xy equals 4. Be careful, guys. When I was doing my answer key, Ms. Glick caught this. I wrote xy equals 1 because I wasn't paying attention. So I got all different answers. But it all worked out. Like, I got pretty answers, and it looked like I was right. So if you get something, remember, just check it. Take 2 seconds to plug back in. Question? We're good? All right, so I'm going to plug in 1 here. So I have 1y equals 4. That means y equals what number? 4. So my first ordered pair is 1 comma 4. Good. So now I'm going to take negative 1. I have negative 1y equals 4. What do I do? Good. Divide both sides by negative 1. So y equals what in this case? Negative 4. Good, guys. So I have negative 1 comma negative 4. All right, just because you have a radical doesn't mean it's going to be crazy hard, I promise. I'm going to take this x value, and I'm going to say 2 root 2 times y equals 4. What do I do? Divide both sides by 2 root 2. So y equals, all right, what happens here? Multiply by what? The conjugate on the bottom, good. So I have root 2 over root 2. So I'm left with, guys, 2 root 2 over 2. Is that simplified?
No.
Ish. What else do I have to do, John?
Cancel the 2's.
Perfect. So y equals the square root of 2. So my answer is 2 root 2 comma root 2. Same thing's going to happen over here, just different sign. So instead of x, I'm going to say negative 2 root 2 times y equals 4. What do I do? Divide both sides by negative 2 root 2. So y equals, what happens with 4 in the numerator and then negative 2 in the denominator?
They cancel.
This cancels and this cancels. I'm going to put the negative here. Now, can I leave a radical in the denominator? No, it's against the law. You go to jail. Nobody wants to be in math jail. What's my answer here? Good. Natalie, good job. Negative root 2. So my ordered pair is negative 2 root 2 and negative root 2. That's probably, guys, the hardest problem on this whole sheet because it's long, it has radicals, you gotta have a fraction, we're squaring stuff. It's a lot. I understand that, but you guys totally handle it, no problem. All right, 2 more of these solving ones, and then the partial fractions, and then we're done. CP was just watching, and now he is leaving. All right, guys, look at number 5. Which one is just set up like, here you go, this is easy to do? The bottom one. I'm going to take this value and plug it in right there. So I have x squared plus, instead of y, what am I writing? Negative x plus 4 squared, good, equals 16. What does this mean? Negative x plus 4 quantity squared. Perfect. Negative x plus 4 times negative x plus 4. We have to FOIL that out first before we can do anything. So keep that x squared out in front. What's a negative x times a negative x? Positive x squared, right? What's negative x times negative 4? Positive 4. Negative 4x. What's a positive 4 and a negative x? Negative 4x. And what's 4 times 4? Equals 16. All right, before we do anything, let's just clean it all up. What's 1x squared and 1x squared? 2x squared. Right, we're not multiplying, we're just adding them. What's a negative 4 and a negative 4? Negative 8x. Now, what am I going to do with this 16? I got to move it over here, right? So if I subtract it, I get 0, correct? Okay. Let's factor this. What can I take out of 2x squared and 8x? I could take out a 2x. Then I'm left with x what? Well, if I take out an x, I'm left with just x minus 4, right? So now what? Set them both equal to 0. 2x equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. So I get x equals 0 here, and x equals 4. So I have 2x values that I need to do what with? Plug them in to find y. Which equation should we use? The bottom. Y equals negative x plus 4. Y equals negative x plus 4. So I have negative 0 plus 4. What does that mean? What's 0 plus 4? 4. So when I plug in x, I get out 4. Over here, I'm going to plug in x is 4. So y equals negative 4 plus 4. What's negative 4 plus 4? 0. So here, it's 4 comma 0. Are those two the same points? No. Those are not the same points. All right, last solving one. What do you think we should do? This is a long one. The bottom one. We want to say y equals what? We wanted to say what? Want to move this 2x over? So we'll say y equals negative 2x minus 1. Okay. So I'm going to take this and plug it in right there. Again, I told you guys this is a long one. I'm going to plug it in there, and I'm also going to plug it in there. Correct? Yep. That's fine. No, Natalie says, is it possible to do x by itself? That's perfectly fine. Let's try that. You can do it either way. If you do x by itself, then you only have to substitute in one time, right? That's smart. That's good. I've just been so stuck on doing y. Now, the thing with this is if I move this over, I get 2x equals negative y minus 1, right? Then what do I have to do? I have to divide by 2. So where I see an x, I'm going to plug in negative y minus 1 over 2, right? So I'm going to have to put it here, and I'm going to have to square it, right? Could this get ugly? Okay. So I have negative y minus 1 over 2 squared plus y squared plus 3y equals 22. I have all these worked out. I'm going to post the answers as well as soon as I'm done with this. So you guys will have the answers and the video. Now, when we do this, guys, this goes to the top and to the bottom, right? So that means I have negative y minus 1 times negative y minus 1 over 4. You with me? Yeah. Plus y squared plus 3y equals 22. So let's FOIL this out. What's negative y times negative y? Y squared. What's negative y times negative 1? Plus y. What's negative 1 times negative y? Plus y. What's negative 1 times negative 1? Plus 1 over 4 still. Plus y squared plus 3y equals 22. If I combine this, you guys agree I have 2y here? Okay, now, I have a denominator of 4. How do I get rid of it? Multiply everything by 4. So this is y squared plus 2y plus 1 plus 4y squared, right? Plus 12y equals, what's 22 times 4? What is it? 88. Good. Whew. Okay, combine like terms. Y squared and 4y squared is 5y squared. What's 2y and 12y? Plus 14y. Okay. And then what? Plus 1 equals 88. Okay, now what? Subtract the 88. So 5y squared plus 14y minus 87 equals 0. Now you did factors of 5 times negative 87. Did anybody work it out this way?
Oh, no. I'm just going.
Okay. Now, guys, I'm going to redo it doing the other letter. I just wanted to show you. Sometimes you guys need to look to see what is going to be easier. Because how would we finish this? We would multiply 5 times negative 87. Then we would find those factors that give us a positive 14, right? It's kind of gross. That's the long way around. We want to try to avoid having to square something like this. If we went back from the beginning, and again, I'm just showing you, but if we went back and got y by itself and said y equals negative 2x minus 1, we don't have any fractions, we don't have anything yucky, so I can just take this and I'm going to plug it into both places I see a y. So I have x squared plus, instead of y, I'm putting negative 2x minus 1 and I'm going to square it. Then I have plus 3 times what? Negative 2x minus 1, and that equals 22. Now, right away, this should be a little easier for us to do because we don't have any denominators to deal with. So if I go through here and simplify, I have x squared plus, I'm going to FOIL this out, negative 2x minus 1 times negative 2x minus 1. I can distribute here, so I get minus 6x minus 3 equals 22. So let's FOIL. 2x times 2x is positive 4x squared. Negative 2x and a negative 1 is 2x. Negative 1 and 2x is 2x, so I have plus 4x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is plus 1. Minus 6x minus 3 equals 22. Agreed? Everybody with me? Okay, so 5x squared. 4 and negative 6 is what? Negative 2x. And then I have this 3 over here, but I need to move this 22 over, correct? So when I bring 22 to the other side, it becomes what? Yeah, okay, we can combine the 1 and the 3 first, that's fine. What's 1 and negative 3? Negative 2. And then when I bring the 22 over, it becomes negative 24, right? I was just going to bring it over, have it negative 25, and then add the 1, but no worries. Is this a little more manageable to work with? Yes. Is it super duper easy? No, but it's a little more manageable. So I'm going to say 5 times negative 24. What's 5 times negative 24? Negative 120. I need factors of negative 120 that multiply to give me negative 120, but add to give me a negative 2. That means the numbers need to be kind of close. Yep, x minus 12. Whoa, that's a 12. And x plus 10. Now, since my a term is not 1, I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And I get 5x, what? 5x what? Minus 12 times x plus what? Yep. So my 2x values, I have x equals positive 12 over 5, and I have x equals negative 2. Is positive 12 over 5 a wonderful fraction to work with? No, but you'll be okay. I'm going to use the 2x minus y. What is it? Equals 2x minus y equals negative 1. Okay, 2x minus y equals negative 1, and I'm going to plug in x. So I have 2 times 12 over 5 minus y equals negative 1. What does this become? 24 over 5? Yes. Yes, it is a plus right here. Thank you. Plus, plus, plus. Okay, so I have 24 over 5 plus y equals negative 1. Before I do anything, guys, what is the common denominator between 5 and 1? 5. What's another way I could write negative 1 as a denominator with a 5? Negative 5 over 5. It's just going to make our math a little easier, because I'm going to subtract 24/5 from this side, and I'm going to subtract from this side. So I get y equals, what's a negative 5 and a negative 24? Negative 29 over 5. So this ordered pair, when I plug in 12 over 5, I get out negative 29 over 5. That is gross. I understand that. Now, we would have gotten the same thing if we kept working here. I just think most of you went the other route. You would have gotten the same thing, just the numbers are a little bigger. On the right-hand side, this is super easy. I'm going to say 2 times negative 2 plus y equals negative 1. Negative 4 plus y equals negative 1. So what do I do? Add 4 to both sides. And y equals what? 3. So I get negative 2, comma 3. This right here, gross. But I think most of us got through it, which is very important. I'm impressed. The second part, which is our partial fraction decomposition. The first 3 are super duper easy. Why are they super duper easy, these first 3? It says do not what? Do not solve. That means just split it up. That's all you got to do. So in this first case, first thing we do is factor. We already have the denominator factored, so I'm going to split this up as x minus 2 plus denominator of x plus 1. What goes in the first numerator? A. What goes in the second numerator? B. That's it. There are some questions on your final that says solve using partial fraction decomposition, and you'll look at the answer choices and you're like, oh, all they want me to do is just set it up. And then you'll see some that are worked out. All right, what about this one? How is this one a little different? We talked about this one the other day. How many parts is this, really? Because it's x plus 1, it's x minus 2, and it's x minus 2. I have 3 pieces. So my first denominator is x plus 1. What's my second denominator? x minus 2. What's the third denominator? X minus 2 what? Squared. You have to account for them being the multiples. So now I have this is A, this is B, and this is C. All right, look at the last one. What do I have to do first before I can split it into pieces? I gotta factor it. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. What are the factors of negative 6 that'll multiply to give me negative 6 but add to give me a negative 5? What is it? Negative 6 plus 1. All right, my A term is not 1. So I'm left with x minus 3 and 2x plus 1. Agreed? All right, so when I split this up, I have two pieces. My first denominator is x minus 3. My second denominator is 2x plus 1. Could I have written 2x plus 1 as the first and x minus 3 as the second? Yeah. So this is my A, this is my B. And there we go. Questions? All right, let's do these last three, and then we are finito. First thing I need to do is factor. What are the factors of negative 12 that multiply to give me a negative 12 and add to give me negative 1?
Negative 4 and positive 3.
Perfect. X minus 4x plus 3. I'm going to go ahead real quick and solve this and just say x equals 4, x equals negative 3. So when I set this up, I have x minus 4 with my A, and I have x plus 3 with B. You can switch those. You can have x plus 3 first and x minus 4 second. That's okay. Now, in order to solve, guys, we have to figure out what each fraction has and what it's missing. A has the x minus 4. What is it missing? X plus 3. B has the x plus 3. What is it missing? X minus 4. Now you have your equation set up that you can now plug in to figure out what your A and B values are. I have 7x minus 4 equals A times x plus 3 plus B times x minus 4. And what are the two values that I'm going to plug in? X equals what? 4 and negative 3. So I have 7 times 4 minus 4 equals A times 4 plus 3 plus B times 4 minus 4. So just go through and simplify. 7 times 4 is 28. What's 28 minus 4? 24 equals, what's 4 plus 3? 7, so it's 7A. And then what happens with 4 minus 4? Cancels out, so you divide both sides by 7, and you get your A term is 24 over 7. All right, same thing on the other side. 7 times negative 3 minus 4 equals A times negative 3 plus 3 times, or plus B times negative 3 minus 4. So negative 21 minus 4 is what? Negative 25 equals, what happens with A? Cancels out, great. What's negative 3 and a negative 4? So I have negative 7B. Now what? Thank you. Divide both sides, good, by negative 7. So B equals what? 25 over 7. Are we done with this problem? Almost. Last thing I got to do is I have to replace A with 24 over 7. Remember, it's 24 on top and 7 where? In the denominator. So I have x minus 4 next to it. Plus 25 on top and 7 in the denominator. X plus 3 next to it. And that is your partial fraction decomposition. The next one's kind of long. Not going to lie, the next one's kind of long. I'm going to do it down here. Number 11, right? So it's x squared minus 9x squared minus 9x minus 6 over x cubed minus 4x. So the first thing we need to do is factor. If I factor this denominator, I can take out an x, and I'm left with x squared minus 4, correct? Can I factor that a little more? Yes, x times x minus 2 and x plus 2. So I have 3 pieces that I'm breaking this into. I'm going to go one step ahead and say I'm going to use the values x equals 0, x equals 2, and x equals negative 2. So let's put our pieces out. X with my a plus x minus 2, and then x plus 2. Again, you don't have to have them in that order. That's okay, it doesn't matter. Just as long as at the end you put it with what it goes with. So a has x, it needs x minus 2 and x plus 2. B has the x minus 2, it needs x and x plus 2. C has the x plus 2, it needs the x and the x minus 2. So now we're all set up. I have x squared minus 9x minus 6 equals a times x minus 2x plus 2 plus b times x plus 2 plus c times x minus 2. Long problem, but our answers are going to be pretty easy right here. First one I'm going to plug in is x equals 0. So I have 0 squared minus 9 times 0 minus 6 equals a times 0 minus 2 times 0 plus 2 plus b times 0 plus 2 plus c times 0 minus 2. What's 0 squared? Times 9 times 0. So I have negative 6 equals. What's a negative? This is negative 2, right? And this is positive 2. What's negative 2 and positive 2? Negative 4. So I have negative 4a. And then what happens with everything else? It cancels because you're multiplying by 0. So what is your a value? You're going to divide both sides by negative 4, and a equals 3 over 2. Good. Now we're going to do the same thing with positive 2. So we have x squared minus 9. Actually, I'm just going to plug it in. We have 2 squared minus 9 times 2 minus 6 equals a times 2 minus 2 times 2 plus 2 plus b times 2 plus 2, right? Plus c times 2 minus 2. What's 2 squared? 4. What's 4 minus 18? 4 minus 18? Negative 14 minus 6 gives you what? Negative 20. Good. Now I have 0 times 2 crosses out. I have 2 times 4 gives me what? 8b. And then I have 2 minus 2 is 0, so this gives me 0. Now what? Divide both sides by 8. And b equals what? Negative 5 over 4, okay. Yeah, negative 5 over 2. Yes, right? 4 minus 18 is negative 14 minus 6 gives me negative 20. Yeah, okay. All right, now let's do C. Or we'll do the last one, I should say. We're going to plug in now negative 2, right? So we have negative 2 squared minus 9 times negative 2 minus 6 equals a times negative 2 plus 2 times negative 2 minus 2 plus negative 2, well, I forgot the b times negative 2, and then it's what? Negative 2 plus 2? And then we have c negative 2 times negative 2 minus 2. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 minus or plus 18 is? What is it? 22. And 22 minus 6 gives me?
Wait, okay.
What's 22 minus 6?
60.
Okay. All right, what happens to A, guys? Cancels out. What happens to B, guys? Cancels out. So here I have negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4, right? Times negative 2 gives me what? 8. 8C. Divide both sides by 8. And C equals 2. All right, let's write our answer real quick, and then I'll finish the last one on the video. All right, guys, we have A is 3 over 2, B is negative 5 over 2, and C is 2. So I'm going to say 3 over 2, God bless you. What was my A? X. Minus 5 over 2, and what was the second denominator? X minus 2. And then I have plus 2 over X plus 2. Ay, yay, yay. That was a long one.
Wait, so it depends on what the sign is in front of it.
Yep. You could, like if you were doing this for me and you wrote plus a negative, that's fine. But on the multiple choice answer, it's probably just going to say negative. All right, I will finish number 12 in a minute, and then I'll upload this for you guys. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to do number 12 right here, and then this review video will be done. So the first thing we're going to do is factor. So if I take out my x, I'm left with x squared minus 1. So again, we can break that down more. So x times x plus 1 and x minus 1. It's going to be another long one. So I have 3 pieces to this problem. I have x, I have a denominator of x plus 1, and I have a denominator of x minus 1. So I have A, B, and C. So now we'll go through and I'll say, okay, A has the x, it needs x plus 1, x minus 1. B has the x plus 1, it needs x and x minus 1. And C has the x minus 1, so it needs x and x plus 1. So we're going to write out 4x squared minus 7x minus 3 equals, I have A times x plus 1, x minus 1, plus B times x minus 1, plus C times x plus 1. So we are going to evaluate using x equals 0, x equals negative 1, and x equals positive 1. So first with x equals 0, I have 4 times 0 squared minus 7 times 0 minus 3 equals A times 0 plus 1, 0 minus 1, plus B times 0 minus 1, plus C times 0 plus 1. So 0 squared is 0 times 4 is 0, negative 7 times 0 is 0, negative 3 equals, I have a positive 1 here and a negative 1, so that gives me negative 1A. Divide both sides by negative 1 because the rest of this will all cancel out, and I get A equals 3. So now I'm going to evaluate again, and here I'm going to use x equals negative 1. So we have 4 times negative 1 squared minus 7 times negative 1 minus 3 equals A times negative 1 plus 1 times negative 1 minus 1 plus B times negative 1 times negative 1 minus 1 plus C times negative 1 times negative 1 plus 1. So negative 1 squared is 1 times 4 is 4 plus 7 minus 3 equals, this gives me 0, so this cancels out. I have negative 1 here times negative 2 gives me 2b, and then this cancels out to c. So 4 plus 7 is 11 minus 3 is 8 equals 2b, so divide both sides by 2, and b equals 4. All right, and we're going to evaluate one more time, but in this case we're going to evaluate using x equals positive 1. So we have 4 times 1 squared minus 7 times 1 minus 3 equals a times 1 minus 1 times 1 plus 1 plus b times 1 minus 1 plus c times 1 plus 1. So 1 squared times 4 is 4. 4 minus 7 minus 3 equals, this cancels out, so we have 2 times 1, I have 2c. 4 minus 7 is going to give me negative 3, minus 3 gives me negative 6 equals 2c. Divide both sides by 2, and c equals negative 3. So I have my a value, which is 3, my b value, which is 4, and my c value, which is negative 3. So I'm going to say 3 over x, my b value is 4, so plus 4 over x plus 1, and then my c value is negative 3, so minus 3 over x minus 1, and that is my partial fraction decomposition. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your final review for your college algebra final.